Hello, welcome everyone. I am Briar Harvey. This is the Neurodiversity Media Network. Today we are here with the fabulous Haley, and we're talking about brand personality.
hmm
So, okay, first, tell us what you mean.
Yeah. So, just like a person has a personality, we want your brand to have a personality so that brand feels a little bit more human and a little bit more personal. And so, there's some traits and stuff that goes into that. Some of those are tangible things that you can see, and then some of those are intangible that are just kind of inherent values. So, and all of those make up a person, and so all of those make up a brand.
And the first, most obvious question is why don't I want a personal brand?
Yeah, so you can do a personal brand. So corporate branding and personal branding are two very different things. One's not better than the other. It just depends on what you want to achieve. Um, if you want some giant business with a huge team and multiple locations and stuff like that, do the corporate brand. You need a way to put all of those people underneath kind of one umbrella and give them very specific guidelines as to how to behave and the way that you speak and your messaging and standard operating procedures and stuff like that, and all of that falls under branding. So if that's what you want, yeah, totally do the corporate brand. But if it's just you, and maybe it's you and you outsource a couple of things, you don't maybe necessarily have some huge team. It's still good to have this down on paper because it keeps you from getting shiny object syndrome. I'll give you an example. Like I do the personal brand thing, right? Um, every now and then on Twitter, I want to start like talking about like politics and stuff like that, and I'm like, no, no, that's not why you're here. And like I could say, oh well, that's my personal brand, and I could get away with it, but it's really not. My personal brand is as a brand expert and a designer, and somebody that knows a lot about stuff like that, and that's the lane that I really need to stay in order to make that content effective. So yeah, could I get away with like talking about politics and say, "Oh, well, it's my personal brand because it's me"? Probably to the untrained eye, um, but that's not what we want to do. So even if you're thinking like, "Oh, well, my personality is just my personal brand," it helps to have this guideline kind of in place. So
Well, and more to the point, if you get very successful and you are a personal brand and you sell your business, you are essentially selling the personality that you have spent all of these years crafting
mhm.
online.
Yeah, exactly. Like you look at somebody like Mr. Beast,
Right.
for example. Like you could sell the Mr. Beast brand,
Absolutely.
but it's a personality that he has crafted, and you really have to figure out what that is so that when that is sold and that changes hands, you have guidelines to come back to and say, oh, okay, well, this is what we need to do.
What I've seen happen a number of times with influencers in particular is that they will create something under their personal brand, sell it, and then get sued afterwards because they're just being themselves online, and that's, the
hmm
brand.
Yeah, and you are just being yourself online, and that's one of the things about a personal brand is it makes it kind of easy to do that. But if you don't have enough self-awareness to actually realize what that is and how you come across, it's going to be really, really difficult to get somebody else to do that.
Right. What how do you hire a brand representative when it's based on personal branding?
Yeah. So you have to sit down with somebody and be like, okay, tell me what my brand is and put that into words.
Hmm. And this is important not just if you have a personal brand or a
Mhm,
corporate brand. It's about being able to identify who you are and who the brand is and where they are separate. So,
mhm.
what's that look like?
Yeah, so that's gonna look a little bit different for everybody, obviously, because of what you want to share online and what you don't. There's some people they don't want to share any of their personal stuff online, and I understand that. There's some people that, in my opinion, overshare a little bit. Um, I share some stuff about my personal life, not a ton, but what I feel comfortable with sharing, and so that's gonna be different for everybody. You just have to figure out, like, what's okay and what's not okay.
So, obviously, the answer here is it depends.
Hmm.
But how do you start figuring out where those lines are?
Yeah, so I would just kind of show up as you normally do, right? And do that for, I don't know, a couple of weeks, and then go back and kind of look at what you kind of talked about and posted. And, you know, maybe you realize that you don't talk about politics ever. Maybe you post things that you do with your kids a lot. So it would be important to you to show, stuff that you're doing with family and stuff like that. And maybe one of your guidelines is like, do not engage in politics. Which, by the way, just spoiler alert, that should be on pretty much everybody's fucking guideline, because I hate to tell you, nobody wants to get bitched at by a brand.
I know a lot of people, especially personal brands, who have
Mm-hmm.
very much built that into their identity,
Mm-hmm.
that they talk about politics. And that is there are certainly benefits to that. All of their clients are going to be similarly aligned, which
Mm-hmm.
means there's not going to be a lot of conflict in that arena. The alternative to that, though, is that you effectively, especially here in the United States, are losing half of a potential market because
If
you
not
don't
more
agree
than.
with, if not more
Well,
than,
and
because you
this
don't agree
is
with their
this is
politics.
where people go wrong with that too. Let's say that I'm a Republican and I position myself as that. And you think, well, I don't want to work with people that call themselves liberals or identify with that, right? But what you also end up doing is you lose people in the middle too. I myself am actually in the middle, right? You end up losing people like me too, because I'm like, you're so stupid you can't think that two things are true at once. I don't want to work with you. So you don't lose half of the people. You actually end up losing about 75%, if not more. And those people in the middle might have actually been pretty cool. Like, you guys might have agreed on a lot of stuff. There's a lot of, like,
75% of things, perhaps.
yeah,
But
maybe, but God, that 25% is just no. Like, yeah. So,
And I think it's almost impossible at this point in time to separate politics from brand identity. We
mhm.
are seeing it play out in real time right now with Bud Light. We keep talking about this because it keeps not going
Bud
away.
Light and Miller Light and HK, the gun manufacturer, and there's the Ford. There's been a lot. The new Ford commercial just it made me want to buy a Tacoma. It did. It pissed me off so bad. I was like, I'm not even a truck person, and I want to go buy a truck from a different company just to spite you all.
And Lisa just mentioned Target too. And I did, in fact,
Target, yeah,
recently
I saw that
see
yesterday.
something from Target just yesterday.
Hmm.
Like, again, politics can be a part of your brand identity, but know what
They
you are
can.
losing when you
They
make them.
can. I'm not saying that they absolutely in no way, shape, or form shouldn't be. For the majority of brands, I think that that is true. And for all of the brands that we just listed, it is true. Okay. Target is a giant corporation. Ford is a giant corporation. Walmart's a giant corporation. HK is a fairly large gun manufacturer that's German, by the way. I don't give just as an American, if you're a foreigner, I literally do not care what your opinion about American politics
About
are
American
at
politics
all.
are
Shut
absolutely
up.
not.
Yeah, like if you're Canadian, awesome, go be fucking Canadian somewhere else. But so that's a big screw up right there on the part of them, which they handled it fairly well after the fact, but you know, but these are all pretty big corporations. Nobody wants Pizza Hut to like coach you on racism. You know, just give me my fucking pizza. Give me my cheap shitty beer. Let me buy a truck. You know, let me go to Target and get Starbucks while I'm there and wander around and buy shit that I don't need, because that's what I do at Target.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And you can build it in respectfully, I think. I can make it clear what I believe without alienating people. Lisa
Yeah.
just said much the same thing.
No.
How do we do that?
Yeah, so everybody has their views and their opinions, obviously. It's not like, you know, everybody's in the middle and just like, oh, well, whatever happens, happens. I mean, there's, you know, everybody has their opinions. I certainly have mine. And I talk about them sometimes. And if you look at the type of clients that I work with, you can discern what some of my views are. You know, I let that come through in the work that I do. That's how I do it. If you see me working with somebody that's a gun manufacturer, you can probably assume some things about my political views.
Right.
I like to let the work that I do speak to that, and just speak for itself, really. Anyway, because it's good, and that's what I want people to remember from me. I don't want people to remember like, oh, Haley's a lesbian and this demographic and this stereotype and blah blah. Nah, I want people to be like, Haley's really fucking good at this shit, and I think we get along, so we should work together. I think another good way to do this too is if you can relate it back to what you do and explain it. Like I take political ads and explain how they kind of subconsciously get a rise out of you because of the way that they're designed and the color choices and stuff like that, because that's related to what I do. If you're a copywriter, talk about the language that they use being manipulative and how they do that and how that's pieced together. So you can have your opinion on it, relate it back to what you do, and educate people at the same time, while also letting them know, like, hey, I don't like this person. I don't agree with what they say.
And some of that is because as a brand, whether it's a corporate brand or a personal brand, we do have a personal identity. Like, you're never not going to be gay, Haley.
Yeah, no.
So that's a part of your personal identity.
Yeah.
And how does that factor into your brand identity?
So I went down this huge rabbit hole with like identity stuff. Not even as it related to a brand, like as just as a person, like what the fuck is an identity? Like what's it made out of? And there was a couple of different like traits that I arrived at. I've got it in a notebook somewhere. I need to like dig it out and like type it out somewhere. But one of those things was inherent traits, and that's stuff that can't change. So like I'm a lesbian. I'm never gonna not be a lesbian. Despite there's some people out there that would think like, oh no, it's not permanent. Shut up, bro. That's never gonna change. I'm white. That's also never gonna change. I have blue eyes. I can't change that. I'm a woman. Unpopular opinion, but you can't change that either. So those are all inherent traits. These are things that cannot be changed, right? And then you have like your outward appearance. This is how I dress. 90% of the time I'm in gym clothes, right? And then you have your inward stuff. These are things that you believe and like your actual personality. Like, are you funny? Are you a smart ass? Are you, really straightforward? Are you, overly nice? Stuff like that. So yeah, I went down this gigantic fucking rabbit hole.
How is a brand not like clothes? And I say that as someone in the middle of a rebranding.
Hmm.
I am literally getting rid of the first identity that we crafted for the Neurodiversity Media Network. We are putting on some shiny pants now. That
Yeah.
it at least feels that way to me. But there are pieces that have stuck around that are
Hmm.
immutable, right? So, how do we determine, and obviously the answer again here is it depends, but how do we determine what's important to keep and what we can change about a brand?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're putting new pants on the brand, but like you're not putting new pants on it because you lost a leg, right?
Correct.
So there's always going to be stuff that changes. Yeah, the pants in this case might get a little glittery or sparkly, whatever it was that you said, but what's inside those pants remains. It's the heart of the pants that matters. This is ridiculous. But no, okay. So talking about it, like if you look at it as a pyramid, at the very bottom of that pyramid, the foundation of it is your values. So this is the core things that you believe and that really kind of make you up as a human, and this is usually impacted by a lot of different things in your life. This is highly personal to a lot of people, but this is the view that you have on the world and the values and the things that you think are important. This is where really good branding starts, right? So whatever those inherent values are that are probably never going to change or change very slightly as you grow as a person, right? um, Company culture. This is just the culture that you want to cultivate. Um, who are the people that you work with, that you hang out with? What are they like? What's that environment like? Right. So you can think of this like your friend group or coworkers if you do have like a team, and So there's trying to remember what's next. Features and benefits. It took me a second to remember what was next. I've done this a million times and I messed the order up, but
I know. It's
yeah.
fine. I'm with you.
Right. So features and benefits, and this is exactly what it sounds like. Like, what are the features and the benefits of your brand? What does somebody get when they interact with it? So if you think of this as a person, like, what does somebody get from engaging with you? Are you really entertaining? Do you always have something like, like a fun fact or like something, educational to talk about? You know, do you read a lot and you've always got these little like, oh, I read this book and blah 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 blah. I mean, talking about a
Which
brand, that's features and benefits of the
brand,
service or
right? And I was
product.
just about to ask because, like, I think you look at Wendy's is a really good example of this, right? Their
Hmm.
online social media personality is
That'll
much
go into the
different
next point.
than their burgers.
Hmm.
So, how are they making those things connect?
Yeah. So the next one, and this goes along with that, is behavior. So this is how you behave, because we know that most people, even people that are very much themselves, you're not 100% yourself really around other people or in public. It's kind of impossible to be, right? So this is how
There's
you
an old Chris
behave.
Rock bit. You have a public representative. And
Hmm.
I always come back to that line because
Yep,
people have public representatives.
exactly. So this Wendy's in this case has this very like kind of blunt, cutthroat sort of social media presence, and they're constantly picking on McDonald's, and it cracks me up.
It's
Um,
so funny.
but their restaurants are nothing like that,
No,
Um, yeah, and honestly, it kind of, I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter. In this case, it works for them. Um, but they have chosen to behave a certain way online. They have really kind of embodied that keyboard warrior sort of personality. And again, this is a giant corporation. The only time that Wendy's might get to show a little personality is probably on Twitter. They probably don't have many opportunities to do that across the board, too. So,
Right. How do you infuse the personality of making fun of McDonald's into a store location?
yeah. So there's this. I don't know if it's still there, but years and years and years and years and years ago, I went to Chicago, and there was this restaurant called Ed DeBevick's. It was like this old diner, and the whole shtick was that they were super rude to you. Like they were just assholes. Like the servers and stuff were just total assholes to you. Like you would walk in and they would seat you, like begrudgingly seat you, and then they'd take your order and they're like, yeah, whatever, and they'd write it down. And like if you asked for like extra ketchup, they're like, yeah, I fucking guess I get you extra ketchup. Like they were just dickheads. But it was the whole shtick of the restaurant, and like the food was good. I mean, it was a diner. I got like a burger and fries or
Right,
something.
but I'm gonna tip well if you're
it was
an
awesome.
asshole to me in a situation where I am expecting an asshole.
I bet their servers made bank too, but it was part of
Guaranteed.
Yeah, it was part of that culture, that brand. That was what they had. They were like, yeah, we're making fucking French fries and burgers, whatever, you know. But that's really what sold it. Because I mean, honestly, it's a burger. How good could it really be?
Especially a diner burger.
Yeah.
There are only so many places a diner burger can go.
Yeah. And like let's say it was at the top. Okay, great. It's still just a diner burger that was like $12, So yeah, they use the culture and the behavior and stuff like that to sell the product. It's again, we've talked about this. You're going there for the experience, not necessarily. You fucking go to McDonald's and get a burger. Who cares? Like no one gives a shit about the McDonald's burger. McDonald's serves a different audience. You need it hot and fast. Here it is. Ed DeBevick's is totally different. You're going there for the experience. You just so happen to get food while you're there.
So, the personality of my brand is how I tell you ahead of time what to expect when you purchase from me.
Yeah. We all have friends that we're like, when we introduce them to other friends, it's like, okay, before you guys meet, I got to tell you whatever that thing is, right? So if that was your brand, what would people say? Like, before you meet such and such, I got to let you know. What would people say? It's a really good little fun exercise.
I know exactly what they say about me. She's a little weird. She likes cats, but she has a great sense of humor, so you'll get along fine.
There you go.
And I think that knowing those things allow us to invite people in much more consistently, right?
Yeah. Well, and the type of people that you want to invite in, going back to the political example, there's nothing wrong with excluding people.
No.
At all. You should be a little bit.
Absolutely. And if politics is your basis of exclusion, that's
cool.
Fine.
For a lot of people, it's not going to be, though. I can really get along with just about anybody on the political spectrum. Maybe not the extremes on either side, but for the most part, I'm pretty easy to get along with. There's some other shit that's deal breaker material for me, but it's not politics.
So what happens, obviously, we have so many examples about when we do it wrong, but what specifically are they getting wrong here?
With the politics thing?
With the politics, with the identity, with making... and we can keep bashing on Bud Light if you want. There's so much there.
I would love to.
So much here about how they have incorrectly identified their buyers.
Yeah.
and prioritized their brand identity ahead of those people.
Yeah. So we hear the phrase tone deaf a lot,
Mm.
right? Like, oh, that's a tone deaf move. Especially when it relates to Bud Light or whoever, like, oh man, they're so tone deaf to what's going on. Or the ATF wishing everybody a happy Mother's Day. Like, that's as tone
I
deaf
still
as they
can't
get.
get over that one.
I'm like, you have
You
to be
gotta
kidding
be
me.
fucking kidding me.
Like, just the pictures of Vicky Weaver in the replies. Like, you know who else would have had a great Mother's Day? Yeah. But I have a different opinion of the tone deaf thing now. I don't think these companies are tone deaf. I think they're doing it on purpose.
Mm. Well, they
I
do
think
say no attention is bad attention. I don't know if that's the case here.
no, I don't either. And I hate that saying like no press is bad press. Like you do have a reputation that can be hurt. So we need to stop using this whole no press is the worst thing that can happen, but as long as it's bad, it still gets attention. No, it's bad. You
Yeah, it's
fucked up
bad
and
and
you
you
could
should
say, "Hey, I
feel
fucked up."
bad.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. But yeah, I heard the term humiliation ritual. And I
I
was
like it.
like,
Say more.
I do too. Um, but I'm like, yeah, this is part of the humiliation ritual. You can't do anything about it. None of us can, and they know that. They're doing it on purpose. They're not tone deaf. They're not idiots. It's not a bunch of marketing executives with a room temperature IQ sitting in this boardroom saying like, what if we sell beer to fags? They're not doing that. I assure you they're not. They're not that dumb. We would like to think that they are. They're doing it on purpose because they know that nobody else can do anything about it. Like,
So I'm reluctant to call these 5D chess moves,
yeah.
but how is
I mean,
this?
really, in the grand scheme of things, you look at Bud Light. What in the fuck are you gonna do about it? Yeah, you don't like it.
Absolutely nothing.
No, you can't change it. Me, I'm going to continue to not buy Bud Light because I don't like Bud Light. I actually don't drink anymore, but even when I did drink, I didn't drink Bud Light.
I would never be caught dead drinking Bud
Hell
Light. Let's be
no.
very clear about that.
Hell no. But they're going to humiliate everybody anyway. You can't do, and even the people that do drink Bud Light, how long do you think they're actually going to switch brands? I give them about 30 days because here's what's going to happen. They've drank Bud Light for 30 goddamn years. And they're going to be like, fuck all this woke shit. I'm not drinking this shitty beer anymore. And they're going to go buy a case of fucking Coors Light and they're going to be like, God, this sucks. And they'll suck it up for about 2 weeks and then they will quietly go back to buying Bud Light.
Mm-hmm.
And Bud Light will continue to print rainbow fucking unicorn dildos or whatever on their cans because they know there's not a goddamn thing in the world any of us can do about it.
It's really interesting.
I have been, not to interrupt, I have been preaching this for the last few months, which is if you're sick of branding like this, go make your own thing. That is the only way to fix it right now. It really is. And I know we talk about voting with your dollars and all of that, but these are giant companies that have a large presence and own more brands than just Bud Light. I think Anheuser-Busch makes like 13 different, they have like 13 different brands or something like that. They're a massive company.
I feel like Sam Adams is at this point in time, but you don't see Sam Adams with rainbow flags. So, like, again,
but
this
look
was
at but look at Bud
calculated.
Light's target audience. They can't afford Sam Adams.
No,
Or
absolutely
Blue
not.
Moon.
No.
You know, my suggestion was everybody start drinking Yingling. It's only available on the east side of the country. You can't get it west of the Mississippi. Anywhere.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yingling, oh man, it's anybody that's East Coast is gonna know what I'm talking about. It's the best beer. The best domestic beer that's cheap. Yeah.
And like I think that there's something here too with it being an alcohol. I'm reluctant to call alcohol a commodity, but there are
It is.
so many people who depend on it for their daily functioning, for better or for worse,
Yeah.
that Bud Light can literally do whatever they want, and people will continue to buy it because they're addicted.
Yeah, absolutely. Like anything that's a billion-dollar industry is probably a commodity. You know, beer being no exception. It's beer. It's not specialty single blend liquor that you can only get twice a year. Like I could go to the gas station right now and have my choosing of like 15 different beers if I wanted to.
Three of them will be Bud Light, and they will come in bottles and cans and twist top cans
Yeah,
too,
and
right?
5 of them will
Like,
be owned by Anheuser-Busch.
right.
Yeah. So, again, what do I do?
So you vote with your dollars. That
Mhm.
that is that is what we do as consumers. That's the only agency we have here,
Mhm.
is to do that or to make something that we like that's better.
Right.
Now, if that's the case, if I'm coming to create something in spite of somebody else's brand identity, is that my brand identity?
It can be, but being able to keep that up might be a challenge
Hmm. Agreed.
because it's really easy. Okay, like right now, Bud Light. As soon as it happened, there was a beer that came out called Ultra Right beer.
You can't make this shit up.
No, but I mean, it's funny. Again, I'm not gonna buy it. I don't care. Um, but they came out as soon as this whole Bud Light thing kind of happened. It was like a couple days later, and had commercials and all sorts of shit. But pretty funny commercials too. There was one with like a transgender horse. I don't know. It was weird. I'll let you imagine the type of like marketing that they're doing for this, right?
If it's
But
ultra right beer, I'm not sure I have to
yeah,
really put a whole lot of thought to it.
it's very on the nose. Um, but yeah, so that's awesome for them. But I wonder how long they'll be able to keep that up because it's super easy. And I think we've all done this. It's very easy to like get pissed off about something, and you're so heated in that moment. You have so much energy that you could start an entire business in like 30 minutes because you're so fired up. But eventually that fire is going to go away. So how long will ultra right beer be able to keep up? Because right now they're pissed off and mad at Bud Light, but eventually this stuff is going to go away.
Well, and the sentiment that brought people to their door will go away too. So there's got to be some substance
Hmm.
there besides outrage.
Yeah, yeah. It all dissipates eventually. Emotions like that. So I do not recommend that you build entire businesses and brands based on your emotions at the time. Um, to give a very simple example, the reason that I started doing this and kind of a core belief that I have is that if a business is going to make you give them money, they should earn it.
Okay. And I think that brings us exactly back to where we want to be, which is, how do I say that I am worthy of your business through my identity?
Yeah, that is again, that's going to depend very heavily, person to person, brand to brand, all these specifics, right? But through this entire brand personality, so we have values, which we already talked about. We have culture, features and benefits, behavior. We have not talked about tone of voice, which is exactly what it sounds like. That's how you communicate. And then the last one is look and feel. This is your visuals, your outward appearance. Think of this as the shiny pants that you have on,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
All of these things make up who a person is. And all of those things communicates something to other people. In the case of branding, all of those things make up a brand and it communicates something about you. Now, people are going to think whatever they want. What this does is it helps influence what we want them to think. Okay? If I go out on the town and I get super dressed up and I have some like big Rolex or something like that, I might want people to think that I've got a ton of money. That may or may not be true. Right? So
Mhm.
we don't necessarily want to mislead them. People certainly use branding to do that. Oh, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Here in my garage? No,
Yeah,
that never happens.
right. So, you know, that is one way you can use it. I don't agree with using it like that, but people certainly do, and that's never going to stop. But really what the purpose of it is to show up in a way that you can continue to show up. If you're not a suit wearing Rolex and, dress loafers kind of guy, you probably don't want to build your entire brand around that because it's going to be real hard to do that every day. Like, I don't wear shit like that every day. Like I said, I'm in gym clothes a lot of the time. And the way that I show up in my brand is very gym clothes,
Mhm.
So it's doing it in a way that's authentic to you, that you can keep up. It's not this mask that you're putting on. And I don't want people to think about it like that. Like, oh, I have to create this costume and then put it on every time I show up in my brand. Because it's eventually you're gonna throw that fucking thing in the laundry basket and you're never gonna get it back out.
Right.
And then that's when you hit that burn it all down stage, and then, oh shit, I need to rebrand, but I already did this once, and now I'm still here, and you go through this like cycle. But yeah, the way that we want to do it is in a way that's authentic to you, and in a way that's showing up for the people that you want to show up for, with a thing that you have that can help them. If that's a product or a service or whatever, right?
For me, especially as we go through it, it feels less like I'm throwing the old brand in the trash and more like I'm evolving it like a Pokemon,
Yeah,
right? I've taken what was there and we're turning it into the next level of,
the next
abilities.
iteration of it. Yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah.
I think
You're
that
not a little Charmander anymore.
no, not
You
a
can
full
be a
Charizard
Charizard.
either. Not
Yeah,
not yet, I don't think. But we're
Charmeleon.
definitely Charmeleon now.
Yeah,
And I get to, do more things. Still can't fly, but I get to do more things.
still am not big.
Still am not big, but I think that happened though because I was very, very clear about what little Charmander
Hmm.
was to begin with.
Yeah, or even before
Everything
it's
about that was
Charmander, when it's just
understood.
an egg.
Right.
You're like, I have this thing and I want to nurture this thing, but I don't know what it is yet. And that's okay. Just nurture it until it hatches. And then you hatch it and you're like, oh, it's this. It's a Bulbasaur. Or it's a Pikachu. Or it's a whatever.
I think part of the problem that people have is that they feel like their brand should be refined. But if you're
No.
waiting for that, it'll never happen, right?
Mine isn't even refined. Mine's messy.
Mhm.
Like the difference really is, and I'll tell you something else too. Even people that look like it's refined in the background, it's probably a little messy. Um, but that mess is really where all the good shit happens.
Mhm.
You know, that's where you get to kind of experiment and play and fuck around, and find out for lack of a better term. And you learn a lot in that stage, and then you can sit down and say, oh, okay, well, I did all of this stuff, and this I really liked, and this wasn't really good. And now that I know that I just need to focus on this thing. This is awesome, and I hate this other shit, so I'm just not going to do that. Yeah, you need that. I was talking about this today. I don't recommend that branding is the first thing that people invest in.
Not your brand, not your website,
No,
not your sales funnel, definitely not
fuck
your
that.
Facebook ads.
No,
None of that comes first.
no. If you are just starting out, you need to just make content, put it out there, and let people know what it is that you're doing, and work on the skill set to be able to do that very efficiently. That's it.
Hmm.
After you've done it and you've made money and you're making sure that your needs are taken care of, and that's very important because if they're not, you make really bad decisions when you're desperate, you
Hmm.
know? Um, After that, and you've done that for a couple of years and you've learned a lot of stuff, and you've kind of accidentally branded yourself a certain way, but now you're sort of sick of it and you've grown and you're better at this and you feel like a real business owner now, that's when it's probably time to look into branding as a solution.
So, what's your best advice for sitting in the discomfort and sitting with the mess of growing a brand?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Sit with it. You don't have to advertise it, you know. You don't have to make a vlog. But sit with it and sit in it and really just be there and go, okay, I've got all of this shit around me. What am I going to do? Like, let's tackle this corner first. And then you go to that corner and you clean it up and you throw shit out and then you make your way around the room and eventually when you're done, you have something there. It may not be a full brand, but you've got something to work with.
And truly, I think that there is a lot of benefit, especially in the early stages of business, of being and not doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that not doing and just sitting down and having time to yourself and being quiet is honestly, I think, the secret to everything. If you're do and I say this as somebody that's very wide open a lot of the time. It never fails. If I have some problem to solve, branding related, life related, business, it doesn't really matter, any sort of problem. If I just stop thinking about it for a little bit and go do something else, the answer always shows up. Always.
That's just frustrating and hard in
I know.
business in particular. We
I
don't want
know.
to hear that that's the answer is to
Yeah,
leave it
especially
for a while.
if you're a hustle bro and you're constantly go 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 go, you know, slowing down is the last thing that you want to do. And I get it. Not shit talking those types, but there is some strength to be found in just letting shit be how it is for a little bit and taking a little bit of a break. Like taking breaks like that is productive. I know it doesn't feel productive, but it is productive. Resting is productive.
Absolutely. I get more value out of my mornings in bed, petting my
Hmm.
cats, listening to fiction novels than I do out of a lot of other busy work time.
I'll tell you what my morning routine is. I wake up, I take a shower, I make coffee, and normally what I do is I get on my computer and I'll play video games for like 30 minutes to an hour before I start working on anything.
Hmm.
I'll sit there and I'll drink my coffee and I'll watch some YouTube videos while I'm playing and I'll kind of hang out.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know that's not the super optimized morning routine that a
No,
lot of people have, but
but it's the best, I
I'll
think.
I'll add the tanning my ass in the sun later on.
I think that the more time I spend in business, the more I realize that all of those things are actually just mechanisms to avoid having to sit and think about things and
Yeah.
having to be in the hard stuff.
Hmm. Yeah. That's why I love kind of the way that I do my strategy sessions is because like we're kind of sitting in that together, but you don't get to leave because, like, one, you paid me to do this, and like leaving would just mean that you wasted your money. And two, I'm there and we're doing this together. I'm like, I'm coaching you through this sort of, and like, we have to deal with it right then, you know? Whereas not calling these types out a little bit, um, a lot of brand experts, their strategy is a PDF guide that you fill out yourself. And
Hmm.
I think that's stupid. Because if
Okay.
you're confused and you can't sort through the mess, and giving you something to fill out while you're confused and can't sort through the mess is just like, we're not going to get any good information out of that. It's just going to be
No.
this stupid, dumb, messy document.
And we've talked at length about the people who are right for you in particular and where they're at. When they come to you for these intensives, what is the work?
What is the strategy work?
Yes.
Yes.
What does a VIP day entail besides just sitting in my muck and feeling bad about it, Haley?
Right. So usually my strategy sessions, I normally do 3 of them and they're about an hour a piece. That's at its base level. I've got a couple of little add-ons that you can buy if you're at a higher stage, where you can get more. But for the basic, oh, usually they are in that I could do this and I could go this way, and I know I don't want to do this, but I haven't ruled this thing out yet, and I've done a lot in my business, and now I'm ready to, like, I need to get settled on one thing. And the best way that I've ever heard it described was brand therapy, which I actually wanted to use that years ago because that really is what it is. Like, I'm sitting down with these people and they're just kind of pouring their heart out to me, and I have to distill down all that information into what a brand actually is and then put that in a document for them. And then visually make that, reality. But I wanted to use the term brand therapy years ago, and then I found out that a brand strategist that's very well known actually already used it. So I had to scrap that. But that really is the best way to describe it, honestly.
And again, this therapy is for people who can afford it and have made money in their business and are continuing to make money. They
Mm-hmm.
just want to evolve to the next level.
Yep. You want to be a Charizard.
Yes. All right.
I will make you a Charizard.
Y'all, she'll make you a Charizard. I can't think of a better offer than that. Truly. It doesn't get
I'm
any
going to go
better.
write the copy for that one right now. It's getting
You
the landing
really
page.
need to. Like the whole thing.
That's awesome.
All right. And they can find you where?
HaleyShane.com.
Absolutely. See? Brand identity, y'all. That's what it looks like.
Yep. Let's not overthink this shit.
Okay, final thoughts.
So recap: the values, culture, features and benefits, behavior, tone of voice, look and feel. Okay. That's the big pillars of your personality. Your brand personality. So if you can start and you can figure those out, or if you have somebody that's a really good friend that knows you really well that can kind of help you work through that, you can start there, and you don't need my help at all. But if you do want my help, we can do this together, along with a bunch of other fun stuff that I keep a secret.
It's all a secret.
Yep.
Because the parts of your brand, literally, I asked yesterday for people, I had a secret mission and I have 50 people who just jumped right in.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what it is, but I'm all over this. I'm like,
mystery works.
Mystery works.
Yeah.
So build your brand with a little bit of mystery, with a little bit of sparkle, and you'll be good to go.
Exactly.
All right, my friend.
What
are we talking about next time?
I don't know yet.
Oh, so it'll be a surprise. That's amazing.
Yeah, we might just, I don't know, we'll just make some random shit up.
Okay. Sounds delightful.
I don't know.
All right. Y'all, thank you so much for being here today. You are all delightful. This is absolutely what we're building over here at the Neurodiversity Media Network. We are taking gems and turning them into Charizard. Like, doesn't get any better than this. And
Yep.
then you get to take all of this content that we have created and go and put it out into the world as something wonderful and magical, and you don't have to do it yourself. It's
Mhm.
already done for you. I have show notes, I have transcripts, I have the clean, unedited video. Do what you want with it. We've already done the hard part. And if you would like to book yourself, I have 2 more slots available in July to get this started creating your own content. Thank you all for being here today, and we will see you again next time.